wrong. Something's hideously wrong. Why, I've tuned into my annual Monday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time podcast, waiting to pick apart every single issue that continues to destroy and corrupt this amazing genius of a cast. And yet something has gone wrong. You immediately notice that somehow you were able to see me perfectly, as though we use actual studio lights the way the professional big boys do. And then it got worse. Oh, so worse. Do your ears deceive you? Do you find your heart palpitating? Do you find yourself gathering anxiety and hyperventilating? Is it possible that you can actually hear me every time I speak, as though this was being run not by a novice or someone with severe allergies and concussives on a regular basis for fun, but run by somebody that actually did a little tech support and got this locked in? So that finally, after a year and a half, perhaps we're ready to truly launch and move into the next dimension, the next season, the next pay grade of perhaps the greatest unknown podcast in history. With Wyatt at the helm and me as your face and voice. It's another night of Brad Stine Has Issues. Son, if you know which button to push.
I'll pick one at random and hope for the best.
Go! Bo, bo, bo. Oh, my goodness gracious. Wyatt, my son Wyatt, my favorite first son Wyatt, the boy, the man. From my loins he came, and now he's my sidekick, and he kicked his mother's side quite a few times in utero. But he's no longer in utero. Now he's in herio. How are you, Whitey-O?
You know, they can actually hear you. This is clearly a serious audio issue that I need to fix immediately.
I'm telling you, what good.
What on earth? I had the mics perfectly set up to be useless, and now they won't?
I know it. My son loved it.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
I'll
fix this.
Wasn't it wonderful when you didn't have to actually adjust volumes or worry about... Because there was nothing to worry about. It just went wrong every time.
Well, here's the thing. I was adjusting the volume. It just didn't do anything.
Right. That's true. So that's the beauty of this brand new cast. I have to say first... Welcome to Brad Stine Has Issues, brought to you by Christian Podcast Central, an amazing accumulation of numerous Christian podcasts from a man who has his own business but is trying to put Christian elements out into the atmosphere, and I happen to be one of them. So give a shout out and go subscribe to Christian Podcast Central. Also, this is Brad Stine Has Issues. I'm God's comic Brad Stine, where I'm bringing to you on Monday nights simple mixture of comedy and conservatism and Christianity in a cacophony of clarity. We're here, we're back, we're live. And yes, let me say thanks to Lee Lanham, my old friend, my buddy. We've done some movies together. He was always the sound man, but he came in this week. Karen Boyd even snuck in and watched as we did some practice audio and visual and lighting, and I decided to shove some stuff in the background so I didn't look all blue and pale and washed out and cruddy and crappy looking. Wyatt, can I say cruddy or crappy? Which one do you think is more in the Bible?
Okay, you're not going to believe this. Apparently, on YouTube's end,
yes,
our last podcast we did, gone.
It vanished.
Vanished into thin air.
You know what? It wasn't the best podcast. I mean, it was good, but you couldn't hear me, so who knows? Maybe it's for the best, Wyatt.
You know what? I think what happened is YouTube noticed the audio desync with the interview and decided the world was just better off without it.
Aw, isn't YouTube sweet that way? They're always looking out for us, especially us who happen to have conservative in front of us.
Yeah, always after the little guy.
Aren't
right?
they? And
Yep.
let's face it, at 5'6", Wyatt, are you referencing me, your father, who happens to be stubby?
I mean, listen, I didn't want to say it out loud, but we all
Wyatt,
man.
this is a podcast. If you didn't say it out loud, this would be a podcast for the deaf.
Or the psychic.
Ooh, speaking of sidekick, we're going to talk about that today with
Yes,
Justin Trudeau.
Almost as if I said that to bring up the topics of the day.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the topics of the day don't go in the order that you choose, son.
Oh, I know that, but I figured, you know,
I didn't. I don't.
since you just asked me to play these videos randomly
You're
with
right.
zero foresight of what goes well, that maybe it'd be nice to give me some clue going
Folks,
forward.
what would the podcast be without my son complaining and whining about how things didn't work perfectly for him?
Oh yes, I can hear my complaints now. Oh no, I don't know what button to press. Now we're gonna be 5 seconds late, and you're gonna look the fool.
Yes, I'm always the fool. At 25, he doesn't have to look the fool because he made it a point to never be on camera. Wyatt, I think we should go see who showed up. And I don't know how to say this, Wonder of Wonders.
I think that something has happened.
Wonder of Wonders, and this frightens me.
I
But someone perhaps has been mugged on the way home because guess who didn't come in first? Nick Kress. He's gone.
guess who didn't come second or third.
My goodness.
Or fourth. Actually, what place did he get?
Wyatt, guess who's first? Jason Orr. Good evening, and God bless you, sir. First, I'm Jason. Glad you're first. Secondly, thanks for calling me sir, but I should have mentioned my personal pronoun is your majesty. Keep that in mind if you're going to talk to me again, Jason Orr.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say so from now on account of I am not saying that.
Hey, Wyatt, guess what?
What?
Roger Riggles, number 2. He's from Oklahoma. God bless you. Barbara Duvall. Hi, Barbara. She's here. She comes all the time. Recab Rick Garcia. Howdy. Hey, Marcia Pointer Reed. She's here. Hi, Brad and White. I can hear you. They're just in ecstasy. They're in ecstasy.
They are completely dumbfounded that we have actual quality.
It's wonderful. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is crazy. Wyatt, I can't hear them. I can't hear any of them.
Chat.
Wait, is that you, Linda Drucker?
no,
But
no,
wait,
no.
I can barely hear you say hi, Brett. Are you? And Clovis Jones, hey, sounds good tonight. Fine from your end, but Closeph, I can't hear you.
We can't look. I'll mess with my audio settings. Chat. Turn your volumes up.
Yeah, Trey Daniels, you're such a funny guy. I love your videos. What do you mean funny? Am I here to amuse you? Am I a clown? Wyatt, I can't hear him.
Yeah, I mean,
Tom
you kind
Cotter.
of look the fool, so clown might not be the worst way to describe
I
this.
know. Hey, Tom Cotter said razor broke. Hey, you fixed the mic problem. Ha yeah. Dusty Wilhelm. Hello, friends. Karen showed up finally, buried under all of these people that got in front of you.
But guess what? Still no Nick.
It's no Clovis Jones, but Karen said hi, Brett. Hi, White. Hi, all. Looks and sounds great. Temple, Texas is here. That'd be Joshua. Barb Malima sent us some money. $200, 200 coins, which I think is $2. I can hear you real good tonight. I know, Rebecca. Go to Craig. Wait, what? He's confused. Sean Syriac, that helps. Love you from Erat, Virginia. Hi, Sharon. Paula Faye Marie Rouchy. When are you going to add another stinking name? She sticks with 4 names. I said to you numerous times, at least for the podcast, add another one.
I don't care if you make it up. Just something.
That's what I was saying. Stan Simpson, yay, woohoo, I can hear you, I can hear you. It's like they've been healed by Jesus. I can hear, Lord. I can hear. Now we just got to resurrect the dead, and this podcast will go into history. Who else is here?
Okay, so I just want to say right now, Justin Fitzgerald.
Yeah?
First time joining from Middleton, Wisconsin.
Hey.
Where are you joining from other than here?
Right.
Kentucky? Indiana?
Hey, look, I'm looking at my
Where's you been?
glasses and doing this. Is looking at it on camera sick looking? Is it weird? Is it odd? Is it free or, unprofessional?
Well, let's just let the audience yes,
Well,
yes
I
it
guarantee-
is.
yeah, exactly.
Also, Randy Koss, who simply comments, "Hi, Randy Koss."
Yeah, but Cody Craig said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Who knows why? I can hear, woo! That's Deanna Miller. Heidi Preuss, amazing crystal clear. It's... Now, Wyatt, I don't know if I should be grateful that this is like a professional podcast that everybody can hear, or if we should wonder if this was so horrible all the years, the weeks prior to this, that these people would watch us for a charitable reason because they felt so sorry for us.
They kept convincing themselves, it'll get better one day. And then that day came and they're like, I didn't know this soon.
Oh my gosh, John Green from Northern Ireland is here. Hey, John Green from Northern Ireland. He's from John Green, which is perfect for Ireland. We just had St. Patrick's Day. Do you have that in Ireland, John?
Didn't they invent it?
I think so. Did you invent it? They invented green beer.
And potatoes.
Yes, this really does sound great. Hey, from Beaverton, Oregon. Hey, Barbara. It was Nick Kress causing issues the whole time. Yes! Force Baby.
Oh my goodness. Nick Kress is the ghost.
Yes!
He's the ghost who's been haunting our stream.
Oh my, it all makes sense now. He was always creepily right there at front. Oh, hi everybody. Oh, am I first again? Oh,
what a coincidence.
I don't even know how. Oh, am I somehow tapped into your control panel and doing all the wrong things on a regular basis? Nick Kress.
We're on to you.
He's my Judas. Meanwhile, I've been healing everybody else's ears. Who else is out there? First time joining, that's Justin Fitzgerald. James Dixon's there. Nick, you okay? Are you in well? I know, Karen Boyd. That's why we got Larry Gilbert. Love the backdrop. Thanks, Larry Gilbert. Belinda Romanowski, love listening to what you present from Northeast High. Larry Cliver, Larry Manheim watching. I thought those were just mistakes when conservative Christian content was removed. Well, maybe. Who knows? I mean, we don't know. What we do know is the jury's still out on Nick Kress and how he participated somehow.
All I'm saying is when he gets in this stream, he has some explaining to do.
Amen. Okay. Josh Sipes, missed you all. Hi from Toledo, Ohio. That's Heidi Pruse. Audio is great from Larry. Yes, it is. That's from Lee Lanham, my buddy who helped me, who's a professional. He came in and watched and helped us. And Karen even watched while it was happening. She gave us some pointers as to how it sounded. Hey, bud, you're my favorite comedian, Brian Promo Marco. I am? I'm your favorite comedian? Because there's a whole bunch out there. But I'm number one? Wyatt, did you ever hear about Brian Promo Marco? Guess what?
What?
I'm his favorite comedian.
Has he not seen other comedians then?
Well, is that relevant?
It kind of is, because if he's seen...
You're saying...
Well, all I'm saying is it means a lot more if you're the 300th comedian he's seen compared to the third comedian.
Fine, Wyatt.
Also,
this is my son if you don't know it.
Also,
Slamming
what quantifies as a comedian? I mean, everybody's...
Hey, guess what Kitty Heidenfeld called me?
He ignored. That's fine.
Dollface. She called me Dollface. Hi. Cool. Is it because I look pristine? Hi from Missouri. That's Linda Hazelwood. I'd love to see you and Jeff Allen together. God bless you. Well, Steve, I was with Jeff Allen in 2008 on the Apostles of Comedy tour. So you never know. You might see us together again. We have some cheese curds waiting for you. Cheese curds, by the way, is what they make in Wisconsin, and they squeak when you chew them. What? It's cheese that squeaks when you chew it. Squeak, squeak.
Well, it still has the mouse in it.
No. Good thinking, theoretically. No, it's screaming in horror because it's being eaten. It's one of the few cheeses that can let you know the pain that food suffers while we consume it. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever stopped to think that maybe food doesn't want to be consumed? Maybe the carrot would prefer to stay underground with its little thing popping out, its little, what is that called? Thing coming out. Like, pretend this is the carrot.
Yeah, the green part.
Yeah, what's that called?
The top?
One thing this podcast doesn't specialize in, the parts of
botanical
vegetable
anatomy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hello from Florida's here. I just found you last week and keep up the good work, brother. Hey, Bill Little. He just found me this weekend. I didn't know you were looking for me that long, but had you... Oh, tell me when my mic is off, son. That's your job. Watch the monitor.
You might get it off, though.
Telson's over here watching in southern New Mexico. Alpharetta, Georgia. Stuart Pierce, floral designer. Oh, Paul F.A. Marie Rauchi, floral designer. Nice. Add that from now on. Texas is here. Mark Bunker, listening from Pennsylvania. My favorites, Herb Forster. Kit Kat Sparrow, happy belated birthday. Where is she? Let's see. I don't know. I'm trying to find anybody else. All right. Hey, good day, mates. That must be Dan Graff. Yeah, I think he's from Australia. Pawana, George, there's 120 people watching. It was more when we first started, and then when they heard Wyatt, they all left. I'm new to your content, and I love it. I'm a new fan. You bring laughter and joy in a time where it's hard to find that. You know who said that? James Dixon. You know why he said that? I'm his favorite comedian. You know how I know? He hasn't seen anybody else.
Yeah.
Stop it.
So, Force Barney is asking if I had the volume in the off position the past few
Hey,
weeks.
listen, John Green from Ireland, and he is from Ireland. He just said that they don't have green beer there, and his name is John Green, so he'd know.
Yeah.
But guess what? He had a great time with St. Patrick's
Well,
Day.
can I finish my thought that you so rudely interrupted?
Please.
So, Force Barney asked me if I had the volume in the off position the past few weeks, and that's why the audio was off. Well, the answer is, basically, when I added the audio into our streaming software, I was given a choice. I clicked it, and it had sound. And I'm like, oh, that's the sound one then.
Right.
No, it wasn't. It was the faux sound one that just confused me and made me very sad. So I found the right one. Riddled with everything, and now people can hear how unfunny I am.
That's true. You know, that might have been him protecting himself the whole time, but at least give my son credit for admitting that he failed. All right, let's get a couple more hellos in before we get moving.
Tom Carter says, enough names tell some stories or at least a joke.
Oh, for crying out loud.
As though the past few weeks haven't been a big enough one.
That's for sure. Who said that? Who said that?
Let's see, that was...
Oh, say it. I'm going to find him. Yeah. I'm going to find this Tom Connor.
I would shoot it, but people are commenting so much.
Was he the new guy?
No, he's not the new guy. I think,
it's Tom Carter.
Tom Carter, yeah.
Tell some stories or at least a joke. Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. Didn't realize I was here to please you and do a little dance, a little fun episode.
So sorry you
Didn't realize it all wrapped around you. Get your own podcast.
I'm so sorry you expected comedy on this comedy podcast.
Right. Well, listen, here's the thing. We are going to get into the show. The show is important because it has a few things we're going to talk about. For those of you who are on for the first time, and a couple of you said you were, a couple of things you need to know about me. I am a comic. Most of you come here because you've seen my clips on YouTube or on Facebook and you liked it. And so you said, let's go see what this guy has to say as a normal human, as a regular. And so I am. And so I do add 3 elements that you may have picked up when you watched my comedy. If you became a fan of that, what I am is Christian. I am a Christ follower. I do believe that Jesus is God. I know some of you think that's ridiculous and foolish and he's some sort of invisible man in the sky or whatever, and that's not necessarily true, and I have lots of ways to prove that, but that comes out in other episodes at other times. You never know when. I'm a conservative, which means I believe in the original intent of the Constitution. I believe the Founding Fathers were geniuses. I believe this nation, as was originally intended, was the greatest nation in human history. I believe that has given more good and more goodwill to more people than anybody in history, and has allowed the eclectic value and gathering of the most amount of ethnicities in human history, trying to make a go of that and make everybody have equal access to equal freedoms. Hasn't always done it perfectly, clearly, but it's always on the way of trying to do that. I also believe in honoring this nation. I don't worship I worship God, but I honor it. And so these are the ideas and things that I try to bring to this podcast. But comedy is part of it too, and because that's how I got known, was as a comedian. But one of the things that I do want to say is my son has been my sidekick and helping me for quite some time. And a lot of people like him. He's funny, obviously. He's interesting. He works at Lowe's, for those of you who started thinking too highly of him and giving him more credit than he deserves. He does work at Lowe's, and he does not find wrenches readily, and that's his job. So I just wanted to let you know where he does fall short. But he does measure up. That's a Lowe's joke when it comes to finding his break and his lunch. Now, Wyatt is what I've always affectionately known as a cool nerd. He plays drums and is a wonderful drummer, but he also likes quantum mechanics, and he enjoys gaming, and he wanted to be a game designer, and then he moved into computer programming. Why was that? Why did you abandon game design and just run into the run-of-the-mill computer programming? What caused that?
Simple, because what they say on the tin is game design.
Yeah.
What's actually in the tin is every single aspect of making a game.
Okay.
Which I'm into, but most of it's very art-intensive, which I just don't really mesh well with.
Another thing that you have to be able to handle in game design is buttons, and we've all clearly seen that that is not your strong suit.
Listen, I am perfectly fine with pressing buttons so long as I get the right ones.
Enough said. I did want to give Wyatt a little chance, though. He always has to respond to me, and sometimes he makes fun of that. Hey, you have to run everything. Oh, I have to follow you. I thought I was going to give Wyatt a little segment this time just to get things started, because I thought, let's see what's so. Since he thinks that what I come up with, my topics maybe are lacking in interest to folks. He's 25. He might have stuff that maybe reaches a younger audience, certainly a stupider audience, not nearly as smart and educated and wise as me. But nevertheless, there's somebody that's out there that are of his age and perhaps need a chance to relate to somebody. So I'm going to give him that chance in what I like to call Wyatt's weird wamblings. Now, you might think to yourself, what do you mean by wamblings? Are you making an ode to Elmer Fudd? And even though that certainly would be a Fuddian usage of the word ramblings, I wanted to have 3 W's. I love to put all the words together. And so I called it Wyatt's Weird Wamblings, where he's going to come up with his own topic just for a moment or two. So Wyatt, what was it about today or this week that you found interesting and thought our viewers might want to talk about?
Well, it's something that I found interesting.
Please.
But I'm not sure if the viewers will.
Well, that's what we're going to find out.
It is a computer science term that is known as fuzzy logic.
Fuzzy logic, okay.
Yep.
I'm familiar with logic.
Okay.
It's something that I use on a regular basis and have tried to use. And then when you respond, I try to take that logic and try to redefine what you've said and make it make coherence.
Yeah, so you're good at logic. I'm a little fuzzy on the subject.
That's it. So that's why you were drawn to fuzzy logic. So tell me, and the viewers and listeners, what exactly is fuzzy logic, and why should we give a crap?
So, in its most basic form, a computer is really just a sequence of millions and millions of true and false statements, ones and zeros, binary code. I'm sure anyone who's Google searched computer has seen those before.
Is that true?
I don't know. Let me Google search it real quick and see.
No, that's false.
Let's see. Google search computer.
Listen, folks. As I said, I
see.
wanted to give my son one shot, just one chance to see if he could take over his dad's.
As it turns out, when you Google search computer, the top results are computers.
I see.
Didn't think that.
So fuzzy logic is taking the idea of true and false, or binary code, which is zeros and ones.
In the computer science world, the jargon we use is Boolean logic.
Ah, Boolean. Now listen, when I want to make a good soup stock, I always start with some good meat Boolean.
I'm starting to realize why you have me as the sidekick.
What? I'm talking to you about soup and carrots, and one day I'll know the top, what it's called.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
Then
and
what is Boolean logic?
Like I said, it's true or false, 1 or 0.
Okay, so
now humans don't think that way, though. If you ask me, is the soup hot? I'm not gonna say yes or no. If it's like lukewarm, I'll say it's kind of hot, or it's very lukewarm.
Okay.
And that's basically what fuzzy logic is. It's taking the Boolean logic a step further and accounting for those uncertainties.
Nuances of life.
Yeah, the in-betweens.
Schrodinger's cat.
Not quite. That's actually
It's alive or dead,
quantum.
but it's both at the same time.
Yeah, that's actually quantum or qubits, which is Now that's an entirely different can of worms that we can get into whenever this happens
Wyatt,
next.
I want you to have the freedom to speak on the things you want, but I refuse to allow my people to have to listen to a can of worms. It's disgusting, it's sickening, and face it, most of my people simply don't fish.
So the basic way that you use fuzzy logic, by the way, this is all math, in case this is confusing to anyone.
Yeah, can you make this more drawn out and boring? Because I think we've only got two people we haven't lost yet.
I'm just going to explain the basic way that you do it. And
okay.
That's
Go ahead, hurry up.
Step one is you have to, and this is a direct quote from the Wikipedia page that I Googled in the last 10 minutes before the show aired.
Okay.
To get ready for this.
All right.
You have to fuzzify your inputs, which, let's be honest here, fuzzify is a word that will never not be fun to say.
No, and plus I know how you do it.
How?
You throw your computer in the dryer before you get started. Doesn't that get it staticky and fuzzy? I don't know. I'm just telling you that's what I would do. And let me guess, Tom Green over there is going to say, hey, do something else funny. Enough! No, that was Tom Cotton. Somebody with a Tom.
Anyway, so after
fuzzy, you got to fuzzify it, and then what happens?
So fuzzify, then you've got to, and this is again a direct quote, apply intelligence, which, obviously the very well-known concept of apply intelligence that we all use in our daily lives.
Yeah.
Like, I've applied intelligence at least 5 times this morning.
Right.
Everyone knows that.
Okay.
And then once you've done all your random computer nonsense mumbo-jumbo, then you get to use my favorite new word, the defuzzifier.
Nice!
Which
defuzzifier.
Somehow even funnier to say than the fuzzifier.
So how do you defuzzify?
Oh, no, it's math.
That, to me, is a wonderful representation of why my son has trouble with buttons, works at Lowe's, and is simply my sidekick. But I do appreciate you bringing up fuzzy logic. And for those of you who want to go further, you can look into, I'm sure, fuzzy logic. And let's face it, he even looked it up on Wikipedia to get some additional information.
So
and
I know what I'm talking about.
Nothing is more trustworthy than Wikipedia. Let me talk to you about me for a second. Can I, Wyatt?
I mean, why stop now?
Yeah, I know. So here's what I wanted to get at today. As we move into the show just a little bit further, as it is moving towards spring. Does anybody know when spring hits? When is spring? Is it March? Is it this month?
It's not coming soon enough, and that's all I care about.
Okay, well, anyway, somewhere soon it'll be spring. And that's when the buds come out, and it's beautiful here in Tennessee in the spring. But one of the things that I have grappled with over the years, especially as I began to build such a new fan base of people that have just discovered me, and I see that all the time. Oh, I've never seen you. Where have you been all my life? You're so funny. And I've been doing this for years. But because of my particular point of view, I'm not a favorite of everybody's because I have a very specific point of view that I inculcate into my comedy, thus making me have a lot of people that tune it out immediately, but many, many more enjoy and appreciate they're dignified as Christians, conservatives, and whatnot, patriots, in a comedian who doesn't even curse the whole time. So I've been grateful that I can bring that to the table. It's what I believe. So when I can give it out there and you can laugh and enjoy and think of those things and find them interesting, obviously I'm glad it's for you. If you're here for that and you like what I'm doing, that's why I'm doing this. My podcast is for people that come to the podcast. It's my special place where I act like a normal person. I'm more real, vulnerable, open. I'm just a human on the journey trying to figure things out, and I suck usually at it. But one of the things that I have grappled with is the commentary that comes underneath so much of my comedy. Remember, I've been doing this since 1988, so I've been doing it for over 30 years. And as I grew my comedy, I always tried to be as funny as I could. That's the hard part. But also to speak about things that mattered to me. And one of the things that I discovered is so much of what I talk about has a deeper meaning. I've always wanted to add things about America because I love this country, and so I would bring those elements to it. About my faith, and I'd bring that to it because I think it's the single most important, literally, question in human history. Is God real? Because if he is, you got to figure him out, and if he isn't, then you need to realize life is meaningless, so go just do whatever you need to because you ain't going to last long. So that's it, but it's the ultimate question. And also just my values and my philosophy, believing in the family, and just these types of things. So I've always put these pieces of the puzzle into my comedy. Well, people over and over and over and over again who don't know who I am, so they stumble upon me. They think I'm just some guy that started a week ago. Says, "Oh, he's stealing George Carlin's act." I've said it, heard it a million times. That, and they always say I'm on meth or cocaine. Now that's because I'm high energetic and I sweat a lot. Wyatt, how long have you known me?
Very long time.
Okay, and in that time, as my son, who's lived with me,
Yep.
how many times have you seen me do cocaine?
The better question is, how many times have you needed to reach your levels of energy? And the answer is never.
You know why? I do Red Bull. That's Christian cocaine. And let me ask you this. How many times have you seen me do meth?
You don't need it. You have those ice drinks you love so much.
Heroin?
No,
LSD.
I don't remember any female protagonists.
Right.
Yeah.
You made me laugh. And that's rare. That's rare because I didn't expect him to have a comeback on that. So,
To be fair,
I
it's a
don't
pretty
do
hard one to
I
find.
don't do drugs. I don't need them. I've always done my show at a high energy level from the first time I got on stage. I just did. Probably out of fear and nervousness, trying to make up for the fact that I sucked. But as I got better, it was just the way I like to get up there and perform. It's why I'm an actor. I'm more theatrical in the way that I deliver. Well, so was Carlin. And the other thing that I loved, and I will say this on camera forever to be recorded and seen, is I was influenced by George Carlin. There's no question. Because he's one of the top, I don't know, at least top 10, if not top 5 stand-up comics in American history, period. He was one of the best writers, one of the deepest writers. I love his use of words. I love that he tried to say deeper things. He tried to make a deeper social commentary on these things. You better believe I'm influenced by that because I want to talk about things like that too. And he gave me a roadmap that it can be done. I do it my own way. I have my own flavor, my own style. But I also was affected by other people. Jerry Seinfeld showed me that you can take a joke and don't quit too soon. You can milk more and get more out of it. If once they buy into your theory of the premise, keep going. Just add more. It's much easier to add to one joke than to always start with a brand new one. So I got stuff from him. I got stuff from Steve Martin to be unabashed and be odd and there's no rules. I got that from Steve Martin. Who else? Sheesh. Do I listen to? Different, like anybody, I saw comics and found elements of what they do that I wanted to bring into my world, but then speak with my DNA, with my thumbprint. And it's funny because people would say, well, you stole his act, which I didn't, because to steal his act would be if I took his material, went on stage, acted like him, and gave his material. You'd have something to talk about. I don't steal his material. I don't need to. I write my own. I've got 6 albums out, an hour long. I wrote every bit of it all by myself. I never had a writer, so I don't need George, and I love him, and I respect him, but I write my own stuff. Thank you so much. Do I have flavors or elements of him? Yeah. It's kind of like saying that no band should exist since 1963 because they're just emulating the Beatles and they're just stealing the Beatles act. No, everybody learned from somebody else. And if you don't understand that basic premise, that nobody's original, nobody didn't take from someone else, you think George Carlin didn't get inspired by Lenny Bruce or Dick Gregory? You think he wasn't inspired by Mort Saul? And if you don't know who they are, you don't know comedy, so you don't get to comment anymore, because you've proven that you really don't have the depth of knowledge of how the stand-up performance art works. So it's better to comment on something you actually have some understanding of, and then at least it's coherent. So that's why I wanted to point that out. But there's something that I found today that kind of bugged me in a good way, but it leads me to this premise about Carlin that I wanted to give to you guys. In 2018, 1921, so 40 years ago, I recorded an album called Unapologetical, and it's on Amazon. You can see it on Amazon right now. You can rent it or you can buy it, DVD. But it was my latest album. Right now, I'm working on the next set of the next hour for my next album. So that's what I'll be working on as much as I can now. But Unapologetical was something I did back in 2018, and I worked on the material for Unapologetical for, 3 or 4 years. So let's say 2015, 16, a lot of the material was beginning to be created. Why do I say that? Because I'm going to show you something that you might find interesting when it comes to what is known as parallel development. If you are a comedian, you see things in a funny way, no matter what it is. That's why all comics often will have jokes that reference certain things that everybody sees. McDonald's, 7-Eleven, driving a car, going in an airplane. We're all experiencing these things, and we see the funny in them. So you're going to have some crossover. And sometimes those jokes are going to be the same. I learned from Seinfeld years ago. He said, if you came up with something, a material, and you didn't see it somewhere else and used it, but it was something that you came up with on your own, and you used it, and you never took it from somebody else knowingly. Nobody ever said, hey, you took that from so buddy. It's yours. It is what it is. It's kind of like saying, once they made a Western, nobody else can ever make a Western. Once they made a horror movie, that's it. We've made one, can't make more. No, you're going to, and it's going to have elements. Matter of fact, every great artist, every great musician, every great actor will say the same thing. You want to be great? Steal. Steal from great people that went before you. Take them, be inspired by them, but make it your own. That being said, a comic that I've seen a lot of in the last few years, and I don't sit and watch comics, but he's a guy that's he's frustrating because he uses up so many premises, and he gets onto social so often that it's kind of like every time you even go to get work to a premise, he's already beat you to it, and you don't want people to start saying, oh, you stole his bit. And I'm talking about Jim Gaffigan. Great comic. Wonderful comic, great writer. I think his wife helps him write, by the way, I think they've said. But very funny guy. And today I saw a joke of his, which is, I think, only a couple years old. Mine predates his, from what I can tell, unless the special was earlier than I realized. My joke predates his, and my joke was first, and it's the same joke. And Jim Gaffigan used it. Now, my joke's been out there for a while, so am I saying that Jim Gaffigan stole my joke? No, I'm sure he didn't. I doubt very highly. He doesn't need to. He's a good writer. He doesn't need my joke. I'm simply sharing with my fans and friends what comedy can be and how you can have parallel development. So I'm going to show you a clip from my comedy album of material that was started to be written around 2015, so 7 years ago, that ended up recorded in 2018, 4 years ago, and then I'm going to show you a clip of Gaffigan, so you can see what parallel development looks like. So Wyatt, if you could, show them the clip from Unapologetical that I did that dealt with ice fishing, but then it moved to a very specific joke about fish. Run it.
I was just in Wisconsin in January, driving over a bridge over a frozen lake, and there were 7 tents in the middle of the lake. Now, I'm no outdoorsman, but I'm thinking that has got to be the most disappointing camping trip. They weren't camping. You know what these people were doing? Fishing! They were fishing on a frozen lake. How addicted to fishing do you have to be? That you don't wait for the water to get wet. I'm no fisherman, but I always assume God gave us clues to what a good day to fish might be. And I'm thinking, if you're going fishing and you need a pole and a saw, not a good day to fish. If you can make it out to the middle of the lake without a boat, you're either Jesus or it's not a good day to fish. If you cast your line out and when the worm hits, it gets a concussion. Not a good day to fish, but it's Wisconsin. It's January. The lake is frozen. They are hungry and they are out of cheese. That's what made America great. I feel sorry for the fish. We'll actually cut these fish, cut their head open, flay them out, skin them alive, eat them, and then complain that they taste fishy. We don't do this anywhere. Don't go to a steakhouse going, sir, take this back. It's really cowy.
So what you just saw, and that was me on Mike Huckabee's television show, doing a joke from Unapologetical. Now, that wasn't the show, album. Obviously, I was live on Huckabee doing the joke about fishing. And I did the joke about this. The joke was like, I feel sorry for the fish. They're the most disrespected of all the proteins. We catch a fish, cut off a fish's head, scale a fish, open the fish, cook the fish, eat the fish, and then complain because it tastes fishy. We don't do this to other meat sources. Nobody ever says to go to their favorite steakhouse, waiter, oh, this is really cowy. Plus it has this beefy aftertaste. Is that normal? And the salad's almost like lettuce. Does that make sense? So that was the joke. Funny, right? Now that's Brad Stine, comic, professional comedian for 30-something years, worked in the best comedy clubs in the country, just like all these other guys, been on television, done all these things. But I'm not as famous and as rich as Jim Gaffigan. Jim Gaffigan, in my opinion, is funnier than me, better writer than me, does a great job. Wonderful guy, wonderful comic. But I'm not bad at what I do. So look what I stumbled across today on a thing from Jim, just to show you that comics kind of think the same. Wyatt, if you could, show them the clip from Jim Gaffigan.
I wish I liked fish. I wish I was the person in the restaurant so, I don't get to go out to dinner that often, but instead of getting a delicious steak, I'll get the fish, because I like disgusting food. Because fish is disgusting. How bored are you with eating if you're ordering the fish? Just bring me something gross. I like to waste money. Who's the first person to walk into a harbor and go, hey, whatever reeks in here, let's eat that? Fish don't even like fish. That's why they're always frowning. They're like, what's that smell? Oh, it's me. I'm a fish. What's the best compliment you can give fish? Is to say that it's not fishy. Isn't fish supposed to be fishy? Get the hamburger, it's not burgery. Fishy is an indication something's wrong. Something fishy going on here? No, everything's burgery.
So, what do you have to say to you about that now? He does a joke about fish, and they're fishy, and aren't they supposed to be fishy? And it's burgery. Now, my joke was before his. Similar, different, but similar premises. I went with cowy, which I think is funnier than burgery. But nevertheless, that's what he did. Now, I could theoretically say, or people could go on his page and say, you stole from Brad Stine. I've seen that's from his Unapologetical. I don't doubt he did. Why would he? But that's my point. That's how easy it is to get online and to slam people and to accuse them of things that you have no understanding of or don't even know how comedy works or how you can do things similar. Remember, George Harrison got sued for My Sweet Lord, which was a big hit, because they said that he had stolen the melody from He's So Fine, and that he lost in court because the melody was pretty much the same. He didn't try to steal it. It was in his head somewhere, and it ended up in his show. So that's how art works. Sometimes by listening in and being intrigued by other things, you're going to get some influence. So that was just a little information I wanted to show you, that if you are a fan and enjoy me, there you go. How about that? I beat Gaffigan to the punch and showed you that maybe I'm not so bad after all. There was something I wanted to say about that, though, that I think is important for those who are just learning to be to what I'm doing, what I'm standing for. And if you are brand new to me, you need to understand that things that are happening in this nation, things that are happening in the world, matter to me. My comedy has never been orthodox. It's never been mainstream. It's never been safe. It's always been dangerous. I always realized that I had a calling to talk about things that matter because I cared about where my country was going. I cared about the souls of human beings that I believe were lost. Their ability to connect to their creator was the only thing that gives you truth and balance in the foundation. So I wanted to talk about those things. It mattered to me. Yes, I'm lambasted. Yes, I'm hated. Yes, I'm mocked. Yes, I'm ridiculed. Yes, I'm constantly being insulted. I don't care. It actually tells me, and I'm just learning this, that means I'm doing something right. If everybody likes you, you're not saying anything worth listening to. You're boring. You're vanilla. You're safe. I wasn't. I had things to say, and that means you're going to automatically tick somebody off because you're going to have something that is the antithesis of what they think is true and good. So that's how I live. I don't make people angry by trying to insult them or attack them. I simply talk about ideas that they hate, and it causes them to reveal themselves to everybody else. The tolerant folks are, in fact, the most intolerant. Why? Because they've taught themselves that if I call you intolerant, then my intolerance doesn't count anymore. It's a self-delusion, or what we call self-righteousness, and it's horrible because these people actually meant well. They actually were trying to be nice to people. In the meantime, they became truly authoritarians. They became absolute totalitarian controls and masters over those of us who disagree with them. It's sick and it's broken, but hey, we're all in the same boat because I believe we're all sinners and all have to check ourselves and try to always become better because we're all in the same boat, made in the image of God. I say these things to you today because something happened to me this week. I got a message from someone that I didn't know, but I wanted to read it to you because every time things get kind of rough and I don't know, and you guys who've been watching my show for quite some time know, I don't know what I'm doing. I never know if anything I'm saying is helping anybody or encouraging them, and I want to be that. I've always said, and I'll say it a million times, I'm not trying to do a show where I just say, aren't Christians great and everybody else isn't? That's not my show. Aren't conservatives right and all the left is wrong? That's not my show. Of course I believe conservatism is true and leftism is broken. Of course I believe that. But my show isn't simply to make it obvious that that's what I believe so we can all jump on board and pat ourselves on the back. I want to give marching orders and tools to try to combat these ideas and see if we can persuade people to join this belief system that we think is true. Not our system, not our perspective. Truth, immutable, transcendent truth. That's why this matters to me. So I got this message today, or a couple of days ago, sent to me in my Facebook page anonymously. He said this: I have recently been opened up to your comedy and your stuff on YouTube, etc. See, I have a story I want to share, and it's a hard one for me. My mother and my brother used to watch your stuff all the time years ago. Well, my brother passed away a few years ago to suicide, unfortunately. And so ever since then, my mom hasn't been able to watch because it reminds her too much of him. But recently, I was able to get her to watch a small bit I watched that I really enjoyed, and she watched with me. Watching your stuff has, in a way, begun to change me. I've always believed, but I've never followed. That's starting to change, and it's honestly because I've been watching you. Your ability to be funny and spread the word all at once has moved me. I've always wanted to help people and always felt I had a gift of talking to others. If this ever reaches you and you actually see it, I'd love any advice from you I could have. I feel so lost, and I wonder if I truly know how I can be found in Christ. I hurt and I've hated. I just want to find peace through him. You're truly an inspiration. So I wrote back. Sorry to hear of your brother's passing. I'm sure it's difficult for you and your mom. I'm on the journey just like you. Life is simple. God is real and revealed himself in Christ as the single most amazing story from any religion in history. Or life is meaningless. The fact you long for meaning proves you were designed for such a need. God alone fills that. God, revealed through the human Christ, proved himself, and believing and starting the journey of surrender begins to make you whole. It's that easy. If you're ready to give away your desires for the calling of your Creator, then the adventure begins. He wrote back, am I ready? Why am I ready? I'm so tired of the pain and hurt of trying to do it on my own. I want to be a man of God for my wife, my kids, and my friends, and I want to inspire others to do the same. My life has been a journey for sure, and I have one heck of a story, but I want to use that to help others see the right path. But before I can help others, I need to help myself. I will continue to watch and listen, as I love the fact you not only put joy and laughter into what you do, but you truly spread the word and you share a message that I believe is very important for others to hear. So every time I wonder if I'm doing any good to anybody, once in a while God will send a little message from someone I never knew, never met, maybe never will, and it makes me feel like, wow, I'm affecting people. This is amazing. And I'm just a comic, but that's the key. Whatever you are out there, your profession, your skill set, your interests, that is only the delivery mechanism for truth. That is only the flavor you come in. That's unique and special, and that's why you need to honor yourself. God made you the way you're supposed to be. That way, you need to deliver what is He tells you to deliver in your way. If you're a biker, you will do it a different way than Karen Boyd, who's just a sweetheart that would never say an ill thing to anyone. But then you get somebody else that might say, tell a joke, and the other guy might say, we don't have green beer. But everybody's different, got a different thumbprint than me, and you're responsible for the territory you've been given. Whoever your sphere of influence is, be you to them. That doesn't mean stay stuck. If you've got problems, if you're drunk, stop. If you're doing drugs, get over it. Fix it. Get away from the things that are hiding you from reality so you can get healing. And usually the reason we hide is because we're in pain. We don't want to dig that pain up because we know when we get to it, it's going to hurt. But the only way you can ever get free is to dig it up, deal with it, reveal it, see it, and give it away, crucify it so you can move on, find your creator and move on. That's really why I'm here. That's what I exist for. I'm trying to create a show. I'm thinking about this more and more. I was at a men's camp over the weekend, literally a camp out in Florida. And so we were in tents and we got on kayaks and went down rivers, and I got to see alligators on the side and a manatee swimming past that you could touch, but in the wild. I mean, it wasn't a sanctuary. It was just, you could go do this. And I was talking to men for 2 nights, speaking to men about their lives and the difficulties of being a man, a leader, a husband, trying to be a father and to honor your wife and so forth. So, this is who I am. I'm creating live events. I've told you about this. Some of you have seen some of them. And my comedy is just one of them. I've got the God Experience, which literally is a theatrical piece that I'm trying to actually believe I'm going to need to hire a director to help me just put it together in a perfect theatrical way that proves that God exists, but using some very unique kind of off-Broadway TED Talky hybrid to make this show work, and come into churches for a whole weekend. So it's what I've become. I'm in ministry. I tell people that if you believe in what I'm doing, you'd like to help me, I'm probably going to do a campaign to raise a certain amount of money so I can try to get the God Experience created theatrically. But this is my mission to America. I'm a missionary to America and to the church. And to those of you who believe in what I'm doing, like what I'm doing, if you're interested in this, you can give. I do have a link to where you can give. I am a 501c3, so it is tax deductible. And if you give a gift, then I'm happy to send you something. And once again, I only have a few of these books left. How to Think Right. This was written in 2004, called Life from Middle America, Rants from a Red State Comedian. It's been rewritten in paperback, How to Think Right. Anybody that wants to buy one of these, I will sign it to you or to anybody you want and send it to you. It's $55. Is it worth that? No, not at all. But you are donating it for a tax-deductible gift, and then I'm going to send you this and send it to you. I only have about 10, 15 left. They're no longer printed. I found them. I'm sending them to you. $55, that covers the donation, and it's $5 to mail it. But I'll send it to anybody you want, and all you have to do is say, send me the link. I'll send it to you. As soon as you show me you've donated, then you just give me your mailing address. Who do I send it to? And you'll get it in the mail from me. So that's one of the things that we talked about. We did some of the funny. I showed you how it works. I want to now talk about another proof of where I feel my strength is and where I'm trying to go. And that is in the knowledge of observing the culture and trying to make ways to interpret it in a means that can hopefully find some clarity and some truth, and then dismantle it and see if we as Americans, and I know I get people watching me from Australia and from Ireland, God bless you folks, or Canada, but I'm in America, so I do talk to my people because we're fighting just like you are for our nation, our sovereignty, and our freedoms. So I do talk to them, but it can apply to anyone. I suppose to a certain degree, if you have a constitution and some kind of document within your government system that gives you freedom and autonomy. I don't know what Australia's or Ireland's system is, but certainly you care about freedom and liberty. So one of the ways I did that was the launching of Brad Stine Has Issues. And it was in these 10-minute rants on topics that are still being put out. They've been long created, but they're still being put out. And I hybridized that into this podcast because I think Brad Stine Has Issues is a cooler name than the Brad Stine Show. So that's why I took that name. But you can go into YouTube and find Brad Stine Has Issues back episodes of me going off on a particular rant. And this particular one that I wanted to show you today is in reference to a tweet that I saw from Justin Trudeau. Pray for him, right? He's a human being that needs God, but he's just so embarrassing to me as a man. He is such a wuss. It's just who created, who was his dad? Well, we know who his dad is. Anyways, Wyatt, did you have that tweet? Can you put that tweet up? I want you guys to look here and read this, if it'll come up on your screen, from Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, when it came to a mosque shooting that happened recently. And this is what he said. Is it up there?
It's up there, yeah.
Yeah. The attack on congregants at the Dar al-Tawhid Islamic Center is incredibly disturbing. Of course it is. I strongly condemn this violence. Who wouldn't? Which has no place in Canada or anywhere else, Justin. And I'm keeping the community in my thoughts today. I also want to applaud the courage of those who were there this morning. And when he says applause, you can take it off. When he says applause, did he applaud in his thoughts? Or did he literally just by himself start applauding? What I wanted to deal with was the idea of my thoughts are with you. For however millennia, years and years and years, if we were going to reference a tragedy that took place, it was also my thoughts and prayers are with you. That's important distinction. Why? Because if you think something, I don't know how to explain this to you. Why? You may not know this, son, because you're younger than I. But after all these years of human condition, do you know that we still have never figured out how to read minds?
You know, I'd have a better response to that, but I didn't know you were going to say that.
I know, because you couldn't read my mind. Here, let me give you the answer.
Okay. Okay.
Is that clear?
Do what with a monkey and carrot cake?
No, that was last time I was thinking, oh my God, how did you get into that one? All right.
You really got to learn to mentally block stuff. Okay?
I was trying to keep that one hidden in the secret place. Well, anyways, the reason I bring it up is because I want to show you guys the vapid, myopic shallowness of what happens when a culture abandons God. Now, I know some of you watching me, I know I have had over time one man who has watched me regularly, is a good patriotic conservative, and he's an atheist. So I know that some of you don't pray, don't believe in prayer, don't believe there is a God to pray to. I get it. And some of you don't think that a prayer has any value, and certainly if there was no God, it wouldn't. But for a long time, thoughts and prayers was us saying, I'm thinking of you. You have a place in my heart where you belong. And I'm praying, in other words, seeking providence for a means to give you some peace, some hope, some healing, some strength, because I can't do it myself. Nobody can. Even your loved ones can't make things better if you lose a loved one. Okay? A married couple that loses a child is one of the most horrific things that can happen to you. And even the people who love this child and made this child, that husband cannot help that wife's grief or her help his go away. You can be with each other. You can give solace to each other. You can give empathy to each other because you're both going through the same thing. But you can't take it away. You can't free them. You can only walk with them. You can only hold it with them. You can only grieve with them. Prayer believes that there is a way out on the other side. You grieve first, you cry first, you scream first, you yell first, you do whatever is necessary, because the pain of death is as bad as it gets. It's the ultimate bad, ending to anything. The worst case scenario is death. That's it, because it ends your time in this three-dimensional realm. I believe that you go on forever. I believe every human being watching me right now has two things in common. One, you're terminally ill, every one of you. Two, you're going to live forever. But where you spend that time in eternity, that's what matters. That's what I try to talk to people about. And so since you are only for a short, tiny segment of a time in a three-dimensional form, able to make autonomous decisions, able to believe in God, and yet have to do it by a very unique means of communicating in faith, not getting rid of your intellect, you use your intellect, but having to observe God, who's the most awesome, ununderstandable being there could ever be, trying to get as close as you can to him with these limited resources we have as a mind and our five senses. So faith is not a less intellectual way of approaching God. It's one of the only ways you can, because you kind of have to realize your intellect can only go so far when it comes to a transcendent being. God isn't even physical. So clearly, he has to be dealt with in a different way, engaged in a different way. And the only way that we know how to even understand the transcendent, that which is outside of matter in our world, is with thoughts and ideas. Because these are real, they're tangible, they have an effect, and yet they're not material. It's a proof of God, by the way, the transcendental argument, one of the greatest, impossible to refute proofs of God. Thoughts are not material, and yet they create reality. God said he created the universe with a thought and breathed it out in a word, and that information created the beginning of everything that we have. So when I talk about God, I don't talk about it with some sort of airy pie in the sky. I don't know anything, but I just believe in God, and I don't have any intellect. Oh, no. I went deep dive into philosophical, theological observation of logic and reason to see if God could be found as close as I could get with the intellect, in the understanding that I was also going to have to, at some point, release or jettison the intellect as the only means to find God, and realize that I'm going to have to move to another frame of reference that God gives us, our spirit, which is where our thoughts come from, and how the transcendent is connected to a person that isn't transcendent at all, but is in fact biologically substantive. So this is God and how he's found, how he's approached. And to prove it, he even became a human being from spirit form to biological form in Jesus Christ, which was documented by people, died, came back to life to prove it wasn't a cult, prove it wasn't made up, prove that he really had power over matter by doing miraculous things, and then came back to life from death, which we know is the end, to prove, yes, I'm real, it's real, everything about the Bible, the most amazing, greatest book ever written in human history, more books, more ideas, more thoughts, more concepts have all derived from the Bible, the ultimate beginning book that bases everything from Shakespeare to Plato to everybody else, had derivatives from biblical ideas. And so it's why the West is Judeo-Christian, and why many of our thoughts and our what we consider to be morals that we think are inherent in us as humans isn't. They're Christian concepts that have been given to us that have become so part inculcated into culture that we think it's who we are and how we think without God. And many people who you do moral things without God think, see, I didn't need him. No. What you consider moral at all is already God-breathed. You don't know it. That's all. You don't realize, because it's so deep now in culture and has gone so far down the pipe that now it just seems natural, and it's not. Didn't used to always be this way. Lots of cultures didn't see human beings as intrinsically valuable and thus should be protected from evil. So Christianity is true, it's real, and it will literally change your life. It will put you into balance where you belong. And I'm calling out you atheists. I want you to know God because you're good people, you're smart people, and you simply, there's not that there wasn't evidence for God. There's lots of it. You've chosen to disregard it. That's how it works. We'll talk about that down the road. But let's get back to this idea. I showed you the Trudeau concept of thoughts for these people. Irrelevant. Because I can't read your mind. My thoughts mean nothing. Matter of fact, he had to tell people he was thinking about them for them to even know it was happening. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work. And it's a counterfeit empathy, a counterfeit virtue, because they've abandoned God and they literally are speaking like they are telekinetic and speak to people in their thoughts. It's magic. It's atheist version of magic. I'm thinking of you. That's how they pray. You don't believe me? I've got a clip of me actually doing an entire observation of this idea before Trudeau came out and proved I was ahead of my time. Wyatt, if you can find the button, watch my thoughts on prayer. Oh, what was I doing? I was sending my thoughts to you. You just experienced an atheist prayer. Let's talk. Come on in. Hey, folks, it's God's Comic Brad Stine, and let me ask you, have you ever watched the incredible limbo-like flexibility necessary when secular people try to integrate their worldview into general human interaction and make it sound spiritual? What am I talking about? Well, in America, because it was founded on the Judeo-Christian moral ethic, we as a nation had a community response when something tragic happened that we had no control over. We would say to the afflicted, we're praying for you, right? Now, notice we didn't say we understood why the tragedy took place. We weren't diminishing its impact or the evil it was, only that we would pray that God would grant some kind of peace, courage, and fortitude in the midst of the suffering. We're acknowledging our powerlessness to life, and though we can't remove your pain from you, we want you to know that we're seeking solace for you and reaching out to the only one that has a cure for evil and pain. Now, wouldn't you think that that would be somewhat innocuous behavior that even the most diehard atheist could respect? I mean, I get it. They don't believe in God, so it seems pointless. But maybe the least they can do is allow those of us God believers to indulge our little backwards belief system and the only means possible for humans to respond to the unthinkable by believing in the end there is eternal justice and healing available for anyone that asks. Well, for quite some time now in America, the secular humanists who hate religion and religious people have demanded their desire for mutual respect by mutually disrespecting those they disagree with. I'm not going to spend time giving examples of the hypocrisy of the left in regards to their censorship and malice towards the West's Judeo-Christian traditions and morals because, number one, the examples are so numerous as to become redundant, but most importantly, as those of you who are fans of my show have come to realize and appreciate. One of the unique elements of my show that sets it apart, I pray, is this. If I don't have an answer as to how to expose, combat, and most importantly, fight back against those who would happily steal my dignity, eliminate my right to practicing my faith in public, and would gladly enslave me by demanding I succumb to their submit or be canceled culture, then I'm not interested in wasting an episode. I once taught you as fans of my show that it's important to always analyze secular ideologies because what you'll always find is the necessity of the secular to always steal from the sacred in order to give the illusion of validity to their worldview. Thus, what we've seen in recent years is the mocking of those who declare they'll pray for victims of violence, for example, as irrelevant to the matter at hand. Since God doesn't exist in their world, then to pray is to give the illusion of seeking assistance and clarity, as well as letting this oftentimes stranger know they are not alone and our sympathy and faith is coming alongside you in your grief. These atheists then declare that the answer to gun violence, for example, it's not prayer, but gun confiscation, gun banning. Their motto is, we don't have a God to appeal to, so we need to take matter into our own hands, fix the problem of evil by removing anything and everything that a human might use to cause harm to another. In other words, we will be God. It's only when the few enlightened atheists get control of the government, the police, the laws, and the autonomy of less enlightened citizens can we put an end to senseless violence by violently overthrowing anyone that gets in our way. But atheists and secular humanists are usually pretty smart people. They're not wise, mind you, but they're smart. They realize that by not saying anything to the victims of evil, they look uncaring and unsympathetic, and thus the secular version of prayer was born. You'll now see from news organizations, leftist political candidates, and atheists that when confronted with an act of evil, they're now responding on social media with this phrase: "My thoughts are with you." Now, prayers, mind you, thoughts. So let's make something abundantly clear. If there's no God, and thus prayers to the Creator are meaningless, then there couldn't possibly be a more worthless, irrelevant behavior than simply thinking about the victim. Listen, unless you're a clairvoyant and can somehow mystically project your thoughts into the brain of another, they not only don't know that they're being thought about, it literally does no good whatsoever. At least the theist has the faith that there's a benevolent being that hears us and interacts in our lives. To think of someone does nothing to benefit them, even if they could hear you thinking of them. There's no healing in that sentiment. Thinking about someone is no different than thinking about George Washington. You can, but you haven't accomplished anything. Now, what the atheist might say is, well, if someone knows someone is thinking of them, it may give them comfort to know they're not alone. But notice, that's exactly what the theist believes in praying for someone. But prayer actually has been proven scientifically to help people. Whether it's because God's intervening or it's a placebo that makes the person believe they're getting help, and it energizes the body to promote self-healing, still has a beneficial attribute that have been scientifically verified. Not to mention, since God designed bodies to be able to self-heal, even without prayer, it's always the God element that has proven to work best, as attested to by billions of people over eons of history. There are myriads of stories of people believing they were healed by prayer or experienced a miracle. There are no examples, on the other hand, of someone waking up from a coma or had an unexplainable cancer remission and attribute it to the fact that Richard Dawkins was thinking about them and their plight. My lesson today is simple, but it's important. Always watch the behavior and actions of the atheist and secular humanists in regards to human pain and suffering. They will always have to mimic or counterfeit a religious tradition or behavior and expect the same results. They always behave and act as though life has intrinsic, transcendent worth and value, even though their belief system can't account for any. And actually, they believe the opposite. They'll tell you, like Nietzsche concluded, there's no ultimate meaning to life. And then they'll spend the rest of their life having to behave as though life was meaningful, simply because the reality of what nihilism gives society is too grim and too hollow to bear. Listen, if the only way to endure your worldview is to borrow attributes of a diametrically opposed view to make yours livable, perhaps it's time to face reality. Your worldview needs to be abandoned. There, one more atheist prayer to tell you. Please go to Stine Has Issues YouTube and subscribe and like and share. Do it quickly! Otherwise, I'll stop praying and thinking about you. So, as you can see, these things have been things I've thought about, cared about, talked about, contemplated. A lot of the ideas that I have, people ask me about my college, degree and my PhD and this and that. I've got any of that. I'm a high school graduate. I'm an autodidact. Everything is self-learned. Everything I know about life has been from my own study and research and stuff that interests me and my own self-contemplation and meditation on ideas. That's what I know. If that means anything, that's all I got. So today we went a little bit longer than I expected, so we're not going to get into the COVID stuff, but we can do that next week. And I'm hoping to have a guest. Here's, by the way, I am trying to get Rick Green back on, the Constitution coach and America's Constitution coach. And so I would like to hopefully next week get him on. And if so, I'd like you guys to be able this time to have him on live so you can actually ask questions to somebody that you might have wondered about the Constitution, that he can ask and answer you right then, tomorrow or next Monday, live. So that's what I'm shooting for. If not, I promise I'll get him to do that if he's available next week, and I'm shooting for that. But as I said to you guys before, everything that I do, everything that I'm about, I've been learning over the years is that I was, like all of us, destined for something that I was supposed to do. I thought it was comedy. I thought it was professional magic and sleight of hand first, and then comedy. And it all turned out to find out that that's simply the flavor, that it comes in the delivery system. I'm here to do the single most important concept that can ever exist in human history. Know God and tell people about him. That's it. I know. Many of you don't believe in God. That's why I'm here to try to give you some ways to consider that maybe, just maybe, you're missing the most important piece in your life. For those of you who do believe in God, hopefully it inspires you to realize you better go tell people, because you don't got a lot of time left. And this is all you get to bring back to God when you finally enter into his domain, is what did you do while you were there. And for those of you who are just searching and curious, I hope you can see that you can be a believer in God, believer in Christ. You don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to be self-righteous. Don't have to be arrogant. Don't have to be judgmental. Don't have to be mean. Don't have to be evil. Don't have to be hateful. Much of that is a character given to us by people that hate us, but sometimes it's deserved because people have become self-righteous, arrogant, and the worst representatives of Christ. But keep in mind, any belief system isn't about how the people behave, but it's about the foundation of what was taught to these people. And then, unfortunately, oftentimes it's not being reiterated back into the marketplace in a way that would be honorable. But there you go. If you ever have a problem with me or a Christian, don't look at me. Go to Jesus. See how he handled it. He did it better than me. But yes, if you believe in what I'm doing, if you'd like to help me build this podcast, please share it. Let's grow it. You're my people. You're the ones that are here, so I'm going to ask you to help me. Be missionaries to America with me. Let's fight this good fight. Let's fight for conservative values. You fight for Christian values. You fight for our patriotism. Let's fight for our religious liberties. Let's fight for the liberties of every American. Let's fight for freedom and truth and reality and logic, and let's not allow critical race theory and any Marxist cancerous ideology to make one more foothold in this nation. We have to fight back. It's as real as it can get, or we will be destroyed. We will be destroyed. We won't exist anymore. And so I believe that if you believe that something is worth dying for, then you have something worth living for. So that's why I'm here. That's what I'm doing. Might be a little bit heavy from what you expected from a comedian, but this is who I actually am. This is why I'm here, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Next week, Thursday night, I'm going to be in Phoenix, Arizona with Kevin Jackson from the Black Sphere and Tim Wilkins. We're going to be doing the Unapologetically American Comedy Night. Phoenix, I think, actually might be Flagstaff. Is it Flagstaff? Phoenix, Arizona. Go to my website, bradstine.com, and I will be there next Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday in Arizona. If you are in Phoenix area, Flagstaff area, come out, watch the show, get some tickets, bring a bunch of friends. You want conservative values, you want Christianity talked about in a funny way, in an adult manner, come out. You're going to love this show. Wyatt, thanks for coming out and coming up with your fuzzy logic ideas.
Thank you. There was a lot more to it that I didn't get to get through, but...
Well, maybe we can get into phase 2 next week. Maybe the people who have been waiting with bated breath for more information about fuzzy logic, maybe we can complete that concept, that missing link, that they knew something wasn't quite right with the podcast. Maybe that's what it is. They didn't get all the fuzzy logic.
Maybe I'll see a butterfly, get distracted, and completely forget.
Yes, he is much like Pooh. Well, anyways... I so much appreciate you guys, so much appreciate my son, so much appreciate God, so much appreciate America, and truly, truly thank those of you who spend time on a Monday watching me. I'm just a nobody. I'm on a journey just like you. But this is God's Comic, Brad Stine. Come back next week. Hopefully we'll have Rick Green. You can get your questions ready for anything you ever had about the Constitution. And please, if you want to help this grow, ask for the link. I'll send it. But please share it. Please share it. Subscribe, follow me, and subscribe on my YouTube channel. And maybe, just maybe, we can do some damage for this kingdom. before it's too late. God bless you. Remember, PC free is liberty, and my job is to put the woke back to sleep. Good night.